Good afternoon and thanks for joining us. I'm Judy Simpson. It's the first Thursday of the month and we're in the kitchen with Across the Fence. And today, one of your favorites and mine, apple recipes. We have 15 of them for you that have been prepared by our chefs, Carolyn Peak from Williamstown, Deb Plumley, and Lynn Jarvis, both from South Hero. Now, before we get to today's recipes, we want to announce the winner of the boat ride on Paradise Bay in South Hero. A drum roll, please. Congratulations to Nancy Olchaway from right here in South Burlington. And here she is with Lynn and the Sandbar Bridge in the background. And I know, Lynn, the bridge has special meaning to Nancy.
Yes, back in the 1960s, Nancy used to fish under the old bridge that was here at the time. And like many people, she left Vermont but returned in later life. And this was the first time she'd been back here in more than 50 years. And it brought back many happy memories for her. And all of us at Across the Fence are pleased that she was the lucky winner.
Yeah, well, it looks like you had a great day in the lake.
It was a beautiful day, but it's sad to think summer is over. I've never seen one go by so fast.
Oh, all right. Well, the boating season might be winding down, so our free drawing this month will involve 2 cookbooks, and I'll let you know how you can enter at the end of today's program. Now, Deb, I know you have several recipes.
Well, thank you for inviting me to join you. It's always a pleasure, and cooking with apples is going to be my favorite segment. So this first recipe is for applesauce cake and was sent in by Joan Crass from Williston. And Joan shares that when she was neighbors with Helen Workman, who did a cooking show on WCAX a few years ago, they used to swap recipes. So this applesauce cake is from her. It's moist and flavorful. I love the fact that it uses brown sugar. There's lots of spices. It doesn't call for any type of frosting, but I think a dusting with confectioner's sugar is just perfect. Our next viewer recipe is from Jean McNeil from Mansonville, Quebec, and she shares that this is her son's favorite pie recipe. It's a little different as it uses grated apple for the filling. So it takes 3 cups of grated apple mixed with your flour, your sugar, and your cinnamon. Now she said her son likes it served best with ice cream, but I think a dollop of homemade whipped cream flavored with maple syrup is going to be just the thing to top this. My next recipe to share is from Hackett's Orchard, and this recipe for applesauce fudge squares is from my mom, Celia Hackett. The recipe calls for using baking chocolate, which I think gives the brownies some extra fudgy flavor. So if you get in the habit of keeping a little bit of applesauce on hand in your kitchen, you can have these yummy desserts ready in less than an hour. This apple cheese spread was a favorite at our Apple Day at our recent farmers market in South Hero. It calls for cream cheese, shredded cheddar, some grated apple mixed in with cider and herbs. So at your next gathering, you could serve this with some pretzels and some crackers, and everybody would think you've just got a wonderful dessert. So Carolyn,
yes,
it looks like you have some fabulous desserts and recipes to share.
I do, especially the one I'm going to end with when we get to that.
Oh, I can't wait.
Neither can I. So, do you want any help moving anything?
Nope, I think I'm good. Thank you. You're all set. You take it away.
All righty. Well, my first recipe is this pie here. This is a recipe from Dan Franks of Stowe, and he says it goes back in his family at least 4 generations now, and it is called Great Graham's Farm Dessert, and very easy to make. It's just a batter that goes on the bottom. Oops, I thought I had another cut in here. Maybe I didn't. It goes onto the bottom, and then you just put sliced apples on top with some cinnamon and sugar, and you bake that all up, and it just comes out all nice and fluffy and good. And I think I can understand why the family likes it so well. Now it's going to start out to be a favorite for many generations in other Vermont families. Next, I have a whole wheat quick nut bread. And this is one of those that is lots and lots of good stuff for you, because it's got whole wheat flour, bran flakes, wheat germ, and then things like your regular spices, your allspice and things like that. And then there is apple juice and applesauce, honey, and walnuts, along with your usual things that go into a quick bread. So that's something that will make a really nice addition to any meal. And I just realized I'm going to swap this out onto here because it would be awfully hard to put my apple meatloaf onto the little plate with the bread. This one starts out with breadcrumbs, and then there's onions and, you know, all the usual stuff for meatloaf. And then it's a mixture of both beef Hamburg, and you can either use pork or veal for the other meat. And I use ground pork, but once you've got that all done, then you make a sauce with applesauce and cider and brown sugar, and you put that over the top. And I think you can kind of see on this what's in the pan how with my applesauce, because I make chunky applesauce, there's little pieces of apple on top, and you can have a really nice little addition to it. So now we've got to have something to drink with our meal, and I found a recipe for iced apple tea. I have my glass all set up here, and this is a mixture of brewed tea, and then you add your cider to it and a little bit of honey. Mix that all together, and then to serve it, you just put a little slice of lemon, and down here in the bottom you can see I've got some mint, a sprig of mint in there. Serve that nice and cold, maybe over some ice cubes as well, and you've got a really nice drink to have with your meal. Now, as I promised earlier, my last one is also a cake. You notice I bookended my whole meal and put dessert first and dessert at the end. This is a chocolate applesauce cake, and it's made in a springform pan, and this is just so rich. In fact, you have to be very careful when you're making it to not use a watery applesauce, or you lose the whole thing. So, and you serve it in small slices. Because it is so rich, it is delicious. I loved it. I can't wait to, you know, sneak it off, and I'm going to take a little bit of Deb's whipped cream, because that's about all. If you try to put too much stuff on here, you're going to be gilding the lily. So you might just as well have a little bit of nice homemade whipped cream. You could also put some of that onto the pie, but I'm not going to take all of her whipped cream because you might want some of it.
I do. It has maple in it too. Did you hear that?
Yes, I did.
Sounds good, doesn't it?
Yes.
Great recipes, Carolyn. Thank you.
You're welcome.
How are things in Williamstown?
Nice and warm, and
Good.
Everything is growing wonderfully, and
Good.
at least the lawns are slowing down a little bit so that Howard's not out mowing the lawn all the time. But
Good. Well, it keeps us busy.
yes.
Well, thank you very much, Carolyn. And this is the time of year when we start thinking about casseroles and what like with the colder weather coming in, school starting. And I'm going to begin with this apple ham loaf, a good fall recipe. First, you mix some apples and maple syrup and put it in the bottom of your baking dish. And while that's baking, the apples kind of blend together in the maple flavor, and over those you're putting some chopped ham, some cloves, some mustard, and chopped onion. It's held together with eggs and breadcrumbs, a really delicious fall dessert. Not dessert, I'm thinking of dessert with the apples, but a fall main dish. And the flavor combination of apples, Vermont apples, maple syrup, and that ham is just delicious. I hope you'll give it a try. Well, we need a salad to go with our ham loaf, and here's one that's a favorite of mine. It's an apple walnut salad. And you start with your favorite greens, and then you add some sweet onion, cubed cheese, chopped apples, dried cranberries, and doesn't that sound delicious? But what makes this so super is the dressing, and I'm going to put some over it. This is made with honey, balsamic vinegar, and olive oil, a wonderful flavor combination. I hadn't thought much about using honey in dressing, but this works out very well. Let me mix it up, and I actually could make a whole meal of this salad. It is so good, and I hope you'll give it a try there at home. Apple breads are very popular this time of year, and this one is near the top of my list. It's called praline apple bread. And along with the regular bread ingredients, you'll find in here there's Granny Smith apples, some brown sugar, sour cream, and toasted pecans. Now this will go very well at church suppers, potlucks, and bake sales, and there's a lot of bake sales going on now with school back in session, but I think it'll go best of all on your kitchen table, so I hope you'll give this a try. Before I go to desserts, I have a couple of people I want to mention, and before I do that, though, I want to thank all the viewers who took the time to let me know how much you enjoyed my show on the Antarctica adventure. I really appreciate the time that you took to do that. Now, I have a couple of photos that I want to show, and the first one is quite amazing to me. It's a black bear that was sent in, a photo from Charles and Shirley Hale down in Andover, Vermont. And I think it was taking a shortcut across their lawn to find an apple tree. And I've never seen a black bear in the wild, and it must be quite amazing. And thanks to the Hales for the photo. And for your information, the Hales were my neighbors when I was living in Andover. Now, the next one shows a couple of lovely photo cards sent in by Elizabeth Kimball from Bradford, and thank you for those, Elizabeth. And while we look at them, other nice notes have come in from Eleanor Newton from Burlington, Joanne O'Brien from Graniteville, Patricia Kirkbride down in Ludlow, Alice Munson from Weybridge, Sheila Taylor Lee from Fairhaven, from Plainfield Betty Dix, and Linda Walbridge from Cabot. Now, even though we don't have time to acknowledge all your cards and letters, we do read and appreciate every one of them. Now, we're all waiting for my desserts, and I have 3 for you, and they were all sent in by viewer recipes. As Carolyn mentioned, we know viewer recipes are going to be good, and many of them go back in your family for many generations, so we're always happy to get your recipes and use them on the show. Now, the first one I have is right here. I'll put it up here so you can see it better. And this was sent in by our loyal viewer, Edie Ackerman, down in Moncton, Vermont. She's a regular viewer and sends us a lot of recipes. And this is her apple raisin cobbler pie, and doesn't that look delicious? And it really is. You start with a graham cracker crust, then you combine apples, raisins, walnuts, brown sugar, and spices. Bake it for about a half hour, and you come out with a nice looking slice. And just take a look at that. And here is some of this wonderful maple whipped cream, and this will really top it off. And we thank Deb for bringing that in. So that's my first viewer recipe. Now, another recipe that's been around for a long, long time is called apple crow's nest. And this, I checked back in our files, and we actually made it on Across the Fence here 7 years ago, if you can believe it. So, this is an updated version sent in by Lee Sharon of Richford, Vermont. That's up on the Canadian border. And here it is. It's simply a dough that you use that makes these biscuits. And under this, there's a sauce made with sugar, flour, vanilla, and butter. So then you cook it, and when that's ready, you just put the sauce over the top, and this is a great sauce that's made with sugar, flour, vanilla, and butter. And just take a look at this. That really tops it off. And I know we're all going to enjoy this in just a few minutes, because I have just one more recipe to show. Oh, and it smells so good with that vanilla. So here's the last recipe. It's sent in by Connie Waller of Starksboro, and it's a prize winner. 3 easy steps. In a springform pan, you make your base of flour, almond extract, and raspberry jam. Over that, your cream cheese filling. You top it with apples, cinnamon, sugar, and Judy, this is wonderful.
Fantastic. Well, thanks to Deb, Carolyn, and Lynn for preparing all of these recipes for us. Now, we have a couple of different ways that you can get the recipes, plus a few extras that we didn't have time to show you today, to let you know how easy it is to enter our free drawing for the cookbooks. First, we have this 388-page cookbook to benefit the Make-A-Wish Foundation of Vermont. It's entitled Dishes for Wishes. And this 223-page cookbook, Mom's Favorite Recipes. It covers everything from appetizers to desserts. You can get get the recipes online from the Across the Fence website, go to uvm.edu/extension and click on the link to Across the Fence. You'll find the recipes at the left-hand side of the web page. To get the recipes by mail, send $2 and a stamped self-addressed business-size envelope to Apple Recipes Box 188, South Hero, Vermont 05486. And remember, if you're ordering the recipes, to include the $2 and a stamped self-addressed envelope. And we'll have the envelope addressed to Box 188 as your entry for the drawing for the cookbooks. And if you aren't ordering the recipes today, just send along your name, address, and phone number to the address on the screen, and that will enter you in the free drawing. And good luck to all of you. And please join us on October 3rd when we feature harvest recipes, and we'll be announcing the winners of the cookbooks. And as we say goodbye, a reminder to support your local producers by buying local and get out there and pick those apples right off the tree. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again next time on Across the Fence.
For a video copy of today's program, call toll-free 1-888-ATF-3430. Across the Fence is brought to you as a public service by University of Vermont Extension and WCAX-TV.